think we're going to do our pledges. So first, to the flag of the United States of America, the best country in the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now to the flag of the best state in the United States. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. God bless Texas. Amen.
Hello.
At this time, Donna's going to give you her little speech that she's got written up, and then Marty is going to talk after that. Okay.
You know, he's got my bio. How many of us think he really needs to read it? Okay, look, you're off the hook.
Thanks, make me a job.
That's so cute.
Can you all see me?
Yes.
I know you can hear me, but sometimes the podium is so tall that I look like a little talking head. And that's the last thing I want to look like. Well, first of all, it's good to see all of you. You know, it's an honor for me to be your senator. Now and until God moves me, right? But it's great to be out of that pink building and be able to be here with you. So, with that, you know, we just pledged allegiance to a flag that is the symbol of our freedoms and our rights. Do you agree?
Yes.
Those freedoms were won in the Revolutionary War for us. But it has been defended through all these years by our veterans, right? And it's maintained today by our active military. So anybody here with us who is a veteran or serves in the active military, please stand so we can recognize give you the honor that is due. Wow, look at that. Thank you so much. I think of our veterans, what they've done every time I look at our flag. And if you see, this is, you know, I take tangents and I chase a rabbit down a hole, but if you see a flag that is tattered and torn, my daughter, we were coming in today, Mom, flag is torn, get on them. Well, this isn't the group. But taking that seriously, if you see a flag that's tattered and torn, let the people know. They truly may not know that it is disrespectful to fly a flag that is tattered or torn, right? Well, we had a very interesting legislative year.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick run through. I could make a lot of stops, but we'd probably be here very late tonight to get through it all. So we will just do a quick run through, and then I will talk a little bit about the trial of the century.
Yeah.
I had the feeling that's where the interest right now would be, but let's just go over a few highlights of this session, and the session, and the session. So as we started the new session in January, I ended my term as President Pro Tempore. Then we got right to the legislation. It was centered around primarily three things: property taxes, protection of our children, and the preservation of our electric grid. What did we do for the children? We were focusing on school safety, getting rid of sexually explicit material in the libraries, trying to keep the children from being exposed from drag queen productions, programs, whatever you call it, and stopping the mutilating surgeries and the drugs for changeover for sex hormones, stopping that so the children cannot be chemically or surgically changed to another gender. That was actually my bill in the Senate. Tom Oliverson's in the House. We both worked hard on that. That was a bill that had been attempted to be passed for 2 sessions prior, but we got her done. Then, of course, it was challenged by everybody you can think of and by the Church of Satan. Yes, but we prevailed. We won. And now, as of right now, it is the law of the land in Texas. Law of the land, to me. We saw 2 special sessions that were wrapped around property tax. And a whole lot of what we did in this regular session and the special sessions were actually constitutional amendments. Have to have a constitutional amendment to make them law, and you're going to vote on them for those early vote in October, and otherwise, first Tuesday in November, you'll vote on these propositions. So I thought I would go over the propositions for you. How's that?
Right.
So there are 14 propositions. It's a yay or nay. The first one, Prop 1. And by the way, just a little, I'm not going to call it a flashback, but a look into the past. I believe it was the first year I was a senator, I passed the bill that made state amendments that you have to vote on called propositions, and they're listed by number. Cities have to use the alphabet. So that's why you'll see San Antonio with Proposition A or things like that. That was my bill, just letting you know. Proposition 1 is a constitutional amendment that's protecting folks who want to engage in farming, ranching, horticultural production, and wildlife management. You might think, well, why did we have to have a bill for that? But as suburbia now sprawls across the countryside, we needed a law that would rein in both county and city governments that were infringing on what people do on their own property if they want to grow hay or manage their wildlife in a certain way. So you'll vote on that proposition, and that's the short of Proposition 1. And I vote yes on that. Constitutional Amendment, Proposition number 2, is authorizing a local option exemption from the ad valorem taxation by a county or municipality on part of the appraised value of real property for a child care facility. So if somebody owns a child care, daycare center, they have a certain portion of an exemption of property tax. It's not 100%, can't be more than 50. The city can decide how much, but there has to be some form of property exemption. Up to you, yes or no. The argument for it, I voted for it. The argument was it costs so much to have your child in daycare for working parents that this cost would go down if they didn't have to pay property tax as much. Whether or not people who pay, working parents who pay for daycare will actually realize a benefit because the property tax gets decreased, I don't know. We're trusting that if they get a decrease in their taxes, they would pass that on to the cost of daycare. Proposition number 3, constitutional amendment prohibiting the imposition of an individual wealth or net worth tax on including the tax on the difference between assets and liabilities of an individual or family, dead or alive, right? Because right now we don't have that. But Biden's administration was talking about it. Taxing, for instance, what you have in your stock, the gain of your stock, doesn't matter if tomorrow it can drop, or with a Biden administration, your stock can go down, down, down. They were just, they want to do that. So far, they haven't been successful at that. But to preempt something like that, we put it in a constitutional amendment. So Proposition 3, yes for me. You know, anything you think might be a little joke I'm trying to throw in there, just feel free to laugh. Prop 4 is the property tax bill. So with that, we raised the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. So whatever the value of your property is appraised, when you're taxed, you will be taxed at $100,000 lower than what the value is. There's also a component of this bill that allows for non-homestead real property to not be able to have an appraisal greater than 120% than they did the year before. That's a temporary bill, still requires voter approval because it's a tax bill. Then they will look at how much that was really saving. But that's the purpose of that, and I think it's worth it. Hopefully, landlords that own property that renters use will pass some savings that they have because they're not having to pay as much in property tax because they don't have a higher appraisal. Maybe some of those dollars will float down and benefit the renter. Again, that's a hope. All the property tax improvements are in one prop. That's this one, Proposition 4, okay? There's also going to be a decrease in property tax because of the dollars that will be charged by the school, is the short of a compression of the school tax. And the state will make each school whole for the dollars that they feel like, not that they feel like, but that is measured that they lose, that won't be coming to them. The state will make them whole. So there is zero argument that decreasing these taxes will cost the dollars to the school. The state will eat it. We will gladly make it up, make the schools whole, okay? But it's just an important proposition. And then on appraisal boards for counties greater than 75,000, we've added, it's both elected and appointed officials on the appraisal board. So that will be good. And they've changed the terms to 4 years. That is a definite yes for Prop 4. Proposition 5. I don't know how many of you know that the University of Texas and Texas A&M get dollars from the mineral rights of Texas. The dollars that Texas makes off of interest and the mineral rights off of oil and gas go to UT and A&M. So what does that do to all the other universities? Those that are higher institutions, research, Texas Tech, Texas State, some others, they were left out. So this proposition provides it's called the Texas University Fund. It was already out there that was called the Research University. The name has been changed to describe really what it is right now, Texas University Fund. But it will be funded, and the other universities will be able to get dollars. Texas A&M and UT will not be allowed dollars from that fund. Proposition 5. Proposition 6. This creates a Texas Water Fund for assisting to finance water projects in the state. There's a lot of need. A lot of water is wasted because the water infrastructure is old and leaking, and we lose water. It is not a giveaway to private water companies. This is for the state to support governmental groups, governmental entities, municipalities, to help them fund water projects that they don't have the money for. Some will be in grants, some in loans, but it's a low interest loan that they can afford. Hopefully they can afford. That's Proposition 6, and that's a yes for that. With the development happening as it is, and I mean, we all see it around us, it's amazing and it's not pretty. But our most precious resource, natural resource, is water. And where are we going to get enough? Well, we sure can't afford to waste what we have. So we need a yes on that. That needs to pass, and I believe it will. Proposition 7 is a similar bill regarding the electric grid. This is called the Texas Energy Fund, and it's to support the construction, maintenance, modernization, and operation of electric generating facilities. So it's focused around, this fund is focused around dispatchable, which means it's ready the instant it's needed. That's fossil fuel. Yes, there are some batteries, but we're not there yet. This fund supports fossil fuels, oil and gas, to give us the quickly dispatchable energy that we need. The purpose of that is to help support our electric grid, to keep it resilient and reliable. And other changes that we made through the Senate for the grid, and I spent a lot of time on the grid information, writing 3 in the morning, making my notes, learning everything I need to about the electric grid. We made it through the summer. It looked like there were some close calls if anybody followed ERCOT. But even with what ERCOT would show, where the demand and the supply were just almost crossing, if not maybe a little dip. But we still had some resources there. So it wasn't quite as bad as it looked on the map, if you're following the data. But the changes that we made helped us get through a hot summer, which is still hot, but helped us get through that. And that's because of the changes that we made. And there are still changes coming about that will take a while. But this fund will help, so that's Proposition 7, and yes for our electric grid. Yes for 7. The PUC will administer those loans. Proposition 8 is creating the broadband infrastructure to expand high-speed broadband and assist for broadband access and assist in the financing of the connectivity of the projects. So this too will, out in the west, when it's a long distance between one house and another house, there's not really a company that's going to go out there and put in millions of dollars to get the internet to one house and then have to go miles to get to another house. And even not so rural, we still have problems where people are disenfranchised because they don't have access to the internet. Some of us that do have access, it's kind of scrambled and garbled at times. But the point is, we did need, and we do need, broadband to citizens of Texas that can't get it. So this fund is to help get broadband connectivity for Texans. So Proposition 8 is a yes. Prop 9, any retired teachers in here? There's always. Okay, very good. This is a constitutional amendment, Prop 9, to provide a COLA, cost of living adjustment, to certain attenuants for the teacher retirement system. So it is the long-awaited teacher retirement cost of living adjustment. So that's a yes. Proposition 10. This exempts an ad valorem tax, exempts property tax on the inventory a manufacturer has if they are a manufacturer of medical or biomedical products. It will give them an exemption on actual inventory that they hold. We need them to hold some of their chemicals, some of the things that they do that have to do with the healthcare, medical supply, because we had a supply chain issue during COVID. And we can have supply chain issues on picnic supplies, but when it comes to healthcare, we don't need any we don't need any loss of healthcare products because the supply chain is backed up. So this is to help relieve some of the burden that small businesses are having that have anything to do with medical or biomedical supplies. Proposition of 11 is really more for the El Paso area. It's conservation and reclamation districts. There are those in Texas. And it allows El Paso to use their district to be supported by tax, so it will be a tax increase. The people of this district in El Paso must vote on it, but it's to provide a tax for the development and maintenance of parks and recreational facilities in El Paso. Up to you. I did vote yes for the bill because it has to pass the voters in El Paso. If they want to pay a tax, they're the ones that live there, let them do it. But I don't want to stop them if they want to do more with their parks and reclamation of land there. Anybody live in El Paso before? Drove through El Paso? Yeah, they need some parks, don't they now? Proposition 12, constitutional amendment providing for the abolition of the county treasurer for Galveston County. There are some counties that don't have county treasurers. They've done fine. Galveston County, the municipal government of Galveston County says we don't need one. Okay, got to vote on it. I say if they don't need one, help them out, vote for the bill. I mean, why pay somebody? Why should a county pay somebody that they don't need to because the work can be absorbed by other groups, by other departments? Proposition 13, constitutional amendment to increase the mandatory age for judges, state judges, from 75 to 79. Right now, at 75, it's mandatory that they retire. Now, the older you get, the higher incidence of cognitive challenges, because we see it every day. But there is a lot of wisdom that judges have. But who says that 75 is the right number? I don't know. We moved it up to 79. Vote yes, vote no. I voted yes. Because I don't think it's right to have a mandatory, you must stop, you must retire. Right. So I believe that's up to them and the people. There's always impeachment. Just threw that out there. I'm glad some people got it. The last, Proposition 14, is to provide the creation of Centennial Parks Conservation Fund to be used to create and improve Texas parks. Right now, Texas parks are funded through kind of a patchwork method of funding through their fees, by some of the taxes off of sports, purchases of sports things at Dick's Sporting Goods and Cabela's and places like that. But this sets up a fund that the state will provide a little bit for. It's mandatory for them to invest some of it and to try to work just off of their investments and the fees that are fees and taxes that are automatically brought in. That's the 14 propositions. And I think, anybody have a question about those? Or do you want to go? Sure, Naomi.
I'm just wondering if you know what the fiscal note is for the ones that will cost the state, and if they are yearly or is it a one-time? Would it be a one-time fiscal
It's
note?
one time. And like for instance, the electric we put in $5 billion. There's still a $7.2 billion, and some of that's coming from different areas. So that's what that is, but we don't put that in every time. It's $5 billion, almost like an evergreen, if you will. Interest will help feed the dollars that go out. Same thing for the university fund, same thing for the water fund, and the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, is a one-time input also. Because the fund is actuarially sound by the time they finish what we put in, whenever they get through the cost of living adjustment that we're giving them with the dollars we put in one time, then the fund can actually take over because it will be actuarially sound. So the only thing that would be a renewable, and every year we have to look at, is the school, keeping the schools whole. Because those dollars for our property tax, we're paying it down. The part that's compressed of the school tax, we're paying it down. So, and it's only for your property tax, the part that we're doing is really only the school tax portion. Your tax bill is the school and then the other government in your county. So that's what it is. You're welcome. 1 second, Chairman. Yes?
Yes, ma'am. When the teachers' retirement of Texas started in, they wanted no part of the state. They had their own insurance, their own benefits, and it was better than what was existing for the Texas citizen to be involved in. Why now are they coming back and saying, oh, we want to be a part of you? After all these years, I have no idea how many years it has been, but that they have such an impact of funding coming in from teachers. Now, what has changed that makes them want to be a part of our system?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to see you tonight, Donna. And at some point, I mean, the state pays them. If you work for the school system, part-time, full-time, that's part of the benefits for the state to pay. Not all of them get Social Security. So historically, I don't know how it all came about. But I know that since I've been in, and before I got there for years, the state has paid the salary, and I mean, given dollars that we give to the school is to be used partly for their salaries. They're employees of Texas because it's public education. So they get the perks, they get the benefits, and that's how it is.
But at the time, I was retired with the college, and it was my choice. It was my choice whether I wanted to go with the state or the state. It was my choice.
Well,
now,
and
all of a sudden, they've changed their mind.
well, Donna, I don't know how suddenly it is, but I know where we are, and schools can still opt out where teachers get Social Security. But if I get into that, I'm going to mix everybody up because I don't clearly understand it. So you don't want me explaining it. But I've got a great staff, and I can find somebody who can look it up. You're welcome, Sue.
Oh, yes, we'd like to get a copy to distribute to our members and our voters.
Will do.
Thank you.
How many copies do you want?
Well, we'll start with one. I have a copy machine. And I
Not
can-
this. I'll get you something that you can copy. Joyce? You know, Joyce is great. Y'all know her. She's been in our county. Thank you, Joyce. And good is that she knows the county so well, she almost gets me stuff before I even need it, which makes it even better. But Joyce, check with Sue, how many copies. I know we've got it on a file, PDF file. We can
Thank
do that. And you had a question. Yes?
I have a question about the propositions, with the exception of maybe the judges and the Galveston County Treasurer bid. Most of these are expenditures, and so it seems like an increase in the expenditures by the state to take care of things. Can you comment on our checkbook? Are we staying within the budget? Are we doing good? Are we deficit spending?
We're doing good. We are not deficit spending. we had a surplus of 32 billion. But everybody rejoiced in that and thought, yay, let's go spend. But that was not carte blanche for going out and spending bucks. So that's why when Naomi asked the question about how much of this is going to be renewal every year that we have to put in, because we're water fund, energy fund, university fund, no, kidding. Trying to break some ice and you guys are just, but they're one-time expenditures. The broadband, that's not a fund, that's to actually, it's a capital investment in infrastructure, internet infrastructure, broadband infrastructure. The one thing that is reoccurring are the dollars that we spend to make schools whole that are losing, are any dollars they're missing for the formula funding per child that we have taken out to lower our property taxes, we will make them whole. And hopefully, it gets rid of some of this Robin Hood for some of our schools. That's been a goal of mine since I got in. So, we've gotten close before, gotten rid of Robin Hood, now we're close, and it came back. All right, how about us moving on to talk about the impeachment? All right, how many want to hear about that? All right. Well, what?
You're gonna have to come to my door.
Okay, I recognize your hand. Stand up though and ask the question, because so everybody can hear you.
No, oh, they can hear me. Can you hear me?
No, you can't.
No one else had to stand up.
Well, you're special. All right, what's your question?
The question is, and you're coming to it because we've wanted school choice for years and years and years, and so is this why they want to make the school whole, because people are going to go to school choice? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Well, no. I mean, you've always enjoyed me just giving the answer right out. It was not a ploy for school choice. I want school choice.
Yes.
Parents have the right to decide the educational arena for their children to be educated. This was to help us lower our property taxes, the school portion of our property taxes. And the school cannot lower what they need unless the state pays for it. So we are getting a discount on our lowering of our property taxes. They are still not gone. But a lowering of our property taxes because the state's going to pay for it. And that's a historical amount that we have to, and I asked the question, how do we know this is sustainable? We have a budget surplus right now. And there was answers that we will continue to watch to make sure that it is sustained, because we can't take away from the schools, and we will, I don't want to go back on my word for reducing any property taxes, right? Right, Jeff? None of us want to do that. So that's what it is. Now, a quick look forward to the next session, special session. Bypassing the trial for just a second. Special session is bound to come, but it's worth it because it's for school choice. The governor may put other things on there, but it is for school choice. Not sure what the bill will look like. We had a great bill that we sent to the House that had parental rights, school choice. We put dollars in there if you're to go to the schools. If the rural school was impacted, we put dollars in to cover if a school anywhere is impacted. There's this thought, I think sometimes, that there will be a mass exodus from public schools if school choice is an option. But I don't believe that. I believe some children will be moved, and some children need to be moved for bullying or They're not moved really because of teachers. We have great teachers, but different children need different types of education, and the parent's the best one for that. The dollar should follow the child. So Governor Abbott is going to call us back. It's supposed to be sometime in October, which is just around the corner, but I'm not sure when. Each special session goes for 30 days, unless we get the work done earlier. But he is intending on signing a school choice bill to his credit. So we will be coming back if it's not done in the next special. And coming back and Christmas. Then hopefully it's done. We have work before us, and it is serious work. And we need serious people to step up, get over things, and vote.
It's not the Senate that's the problem.
Well, and I'm not going there, Naomi. But I appreciate that. All right, trial of the century. And by that I really mean century. There have been, I think, 5 impeachments in Texas history, only 2 for statewide. The last one was for statewide was in 1917. Governor Ferguson, for embezzling some money. So he was impeached. Then we have the articles of impeachment that came from the House to the Senate. And we have to take up articles of impeachment if they're presented to the Senate. There was a vote before we started the trial. How many of you watched the trial, especially day 1? So there was a vote taken at the very start, whether to dismiss or not dismiss each article. We went through each article. The vote was cast, but taken up, read at random. The votes were then confirmed by roll call by the Lieutenant Governor. I voted to dismiss them all, right off the bat. What was that vote based on? That vote was based on the process by which the articles were drafted, how they were agreed upon in the House, everything that happened that I knew before they arrived at the Senate. I'm not going to elaborate on their process, but I want you all, truly, you can go look at Representative Smithy. He's on YouTube, and it's Representative Smithy compares 3 impeachment. Representative Smithy compares 3 impeachments in Texas, May 29th this year. Look at it. Come to your own conclusion of what you think about the process, the articles of impeachment. Once they came to us, once we had that vote, I wasn't on the prevailing side. We went to trial. What was my role? My role was to be a juror. What I'm going to do is what I have not done yet. I'm going to talk to you about this based on what I entered into the historic record, the Senate Journal. After I finish, we've got 75 copies. If you want one, you may have one. Sound like a good deal?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pretty much read it. I may chase a rabbit here or there. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Can y'all still see me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's the impeachment journal entry. This is all my words. I did have 2 grammatical errors. Y'all may read it and find more. This writing reflects my consideration under oath regarding the articles of impeachment for Attorney General Warren Kenneth Paxton Jr. Following the Senate's receipt of the articles of impeachment for Attorney General, an impartial and unbiased Senate Impeachment Rules Committee was established. The work product of the committee served as a framework for the impeachment trial. All senators were placed under a gag order limiting discussions about the trial to and amongst the senators. September the 5th, 2023, onset of the trial. The presiding judge, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, gave instructions to the senators serving as jurors. We were instructed to ignore the circumstances surrounding what led up to and how the articles of impeachment were drawn up. There was to be no engagement in outside conversations that could influence our decision to convict or acquit in the trial. Decisions regarding the outcome were to be based solely on information presented in court. No evidence outside the court hearing could be considered. The public was given the opportunity to view the trial from the gallery and via the internet with real-time streaming. Under oath, I listened and I had understanding. I determined whether each article was upheld or failed. In addition, should an article fail, the decision had to be made if it rose to the level of removing the AG from office. I voted to acquit on every article. My decision was free of any outside influences, including threats to getting a primary opponent. Bring it on. Having financial support withdrawn, verbal insults. My votes were not biased by the Lieutenant Governor or any senators. My votes were not based on previous friendships. None of the votes were based on technicalities. There was no need for a demonstration of courage, so there was no cowardice. The Senate was not the one responsible for fact-finding. We are jurors listening to presentations by the prosecution and the defense. I did come to the trial with the predicate that we all have the right to be innocent until proven guilty. An impeachment trial is a political trial, not a civil or a criminal trial. This was not a trial which just required a preponderance of evidence, which means just to prove that something's more likely than not. It wasn't that kind of trial. This is not a trial that can be played out in the court of public opinion. We don't convict on public opinion. A conviction or an acquittal must be based solely on actual evidence submitted in the trial. The impeachment trial demands a heavier burden for the prosecution to meet. They must present evidence on each article beyond beyond a reasonable doubt in order to convict. Looking at the evidence, there was reasonable doubt. There was reasonable doubt. The prosecution relied on good faith testimony, which means what the witness believes happened. Let me talk something that's not in this letter, not in this journal entry. Back in the 15th and 18th centuries, women were called witches. And on good faith belief, they were executed, beheaded. Then their bodies were burned at the stake for everybody to watch. Good faith, we think she's a witch. Think about that. There were opinions in this trial disguised as facts. The door was left open to speculation and assumptions. The burden of proof rested squarely on the shoulders of the prosecution, but they failed to prove any article beyond a reasonable doubt. Proverbs 18:17 says, "The first to present his case seems right until another comes forward to question him." This was a historical event, and I'm glad the right of innocent until proven guilty prevailed. When I started out thanking our veterans for the work they've done to maintain our freedom, our rights, this trial, to me, was all about evidence, burden of proof. But it has to be on the predicate of you are innocent until proven guilty. Texas is strong. Thank you. Texas is strong. But how strong? Let me tell you. Democrats stay together no matter if there's body in the basement. Don't quote that. But they do stay together. We Republicans eat our own.
Yep.
A house, Jesus said, a house divided cannot stand. If we divide ourselves by one issue, 2 issues, or 10 issues, what is the alternative? It's the left. If we fall, we do not have a big enough margin to beat the Democrats. And I call it Democrats. They too have their fringe out there. But you've got to decide, are you going to stand with a party that comes closer to your beliefs and protecting your rights and your freedoms than a party that won't? If we lose Texas, there is, and you hear it from me at the end of every speech, if we lose Texas, there is not another Texas to move to.
That's right.
I am serious. Are y'all serious?
Yeah.
Then we've got to get people to our groups, home groups. I met with this is the third event I think I've been to. A home group, not Republican or anything like that. And they had about 50 people. I said, we need more of that. And then I challenged them. Then go to one of the Republican groups or one of our conservative groups. I don't care. But people have to come together. We have to be united. And the time to plan for a battle is not the day before. We work now. With